Here we are. I don't know. I got to go with, they had that Gurley interview at the end of Dan Patrick talking about guaranteed contracts in football. And I'll tell you, yeah, they should happen. I'm the first guy, yeah, sure. You got him in baseball. Guy signs 10 years, $100 million. Has 10 at-bats. He gets paid for it. We just went through Bobby Bonilla Day. Now, that was a contract in which it was agreed that he would be paid overtime $1 million for 30 years, et cetera, by the Mets. So that's not the same thing. It's the nature of football contracts, with some rare exceptions, that, because of the nature of the sport, that the contracts aren't guaranteed. That's how and the best example, and this is, history 101, football history 101, but I always thought about this, when Bill Belichick, not was the coach of the Patriots, but was the coach of the Browns. The Browns signed Bernie Kosar to a long-term deal back in the day. He was the hometown hero, all this. And Belichick decided he'd rather have Vinny Testaverde be his quarterback. By the way, whenever I hear Colin Cowherd say, don't be surprised if Bill Belichick retires with Tom Brady, he's had B-level quarterbacks before, start scratching my chin and saying, okay, the four primary quarterbacks you've had are Bernie Kosar, Vinny Testaverde, Drew Bledsoe, Tom Brady. Are those really B-level quarterbacks? Matt Castle, maybe, but he's a representative quarterback. Not went 11-5 with Matt Castle. Jimmy Garoppolo. He seems to be pretty decent. Who are these B-level quarterbacks? Or Vinny Testaverde threw for as many yards as Fran Tarkenton did. Tarkenton had the all-time record for years and years in terms of passing yards, which will be just about doubled by Drew Brees, but even so. Anyway, just going to the nature, when you hear Gurley say lockout instead of strike, okay, once it's a slip of the tongue, but the thing is, if we ever went that way, I think you would have to see the contracts significantly get cut in terms of what they're going to pay out. We keep hearing the death of football and all that. I think they'll be playing football for the rest of our lifetime. I think, the people trying, Slate magazine, Slate.com likes to do these things. They like to predict the end of NASCAR, the end of football. We still have boxing, for crying out loud. It's not at the level that it once was, but think of all the, arguments to ban boxing. And it's still done. Anyway, after hearing that, I look at this and I just start shaking my head. And in some ways, Gurley's right. Guaranteed, yeah. How would you like it if you're a laborer? You break your leg on the job, no compensation. Well, you do get compensation, don't get me wrong, in the NFL, but that's the end of your job. You're not returning to your job as a laborer because when you heal, because you broke your leg. That was it. Yeah, I do understand that. And the feeling there that, hey, give us some, but you'd see shorter term contracts, really see a lot of turnover that way. There would be a lot, that would really change the NFL. And yeah, you'd have shorter term contracts. And I think that, yeah, just like baseball, the idea of the player who is the marketable celebrity, the way that Peyton Manning was, the way that Brett Favre is, Drew Brees to a certain extent. You don't see that in baseball anymore, I think, because it's kind of, one of the reasons, it's kind of hard to associate in this day and age the player with the team as cemented as it once was. And I think you'd see that in football too. So there is a bit of beware what you wish for there by the girlies, talking about guaranteed contracts in football. Not that, I mean, I don't understand, and not that I don't think it would be a more fair way of doing business. I just think you'd see, you know, a lot of guys looking like Terrell Owens and all that in their career instead of people looking like Tom Brady, you know, playing 20 years with one team. I'm Marky Billson. I'm your voice of choice for a new generation of Tri-City sports fans. Name of the program's Tri-City Sports Now. We own the Tri-Cities. Why? We've got the best guests. I'm the most outspoken member. I do not pull punches. Go to my Facebook page. Look at my back and forth with Yazzer Zattini. Oh, I'd really like it if you would. It's one of the reasons why I'm not talking so much Wimbledon, as well as the fact that who's winning this thing? Number 650 in the world? Oh, interesting. You know. But I want to begin today by talking about a story that's been on a lot of morning sports talk that I've heard today, and it deals with the Hunter S. Thompson letter to Jim Irsay of 20 years ago. I have lost a lot of respect for Hunter S. Thompson, and I love Hunter S. Thompson. I mean, I do. Man drives a 73 Chevy Caprice Classic convertible. Geez, who else does that? Huh, I don't. Oh, yeah, me. Married a woman 2 generations younger than he was. That's something that, you know, men kind of, yeah, you know, kind of respect that, you know. Who cares if he killed himself in an argument with her? You know, who cares, right? You know, that's the sort of thing also. I mean, you're going to live with this, you know. It's a little bit of, kind of extreme, but you told her, Hunter, you know, that sort of thing. Anyway. But I really do have a lot of respect for the famed writer, in addition to the fact he made a lot of money. And, I mean, we certainly disagreed politically. I really do respect a guy who could half-ass a magazine assignment covering the Kentucky Derby and wind up inventing a whole new entertaining writing style. I mean, that's just, you know, that was, as he said, like falling down an elevator shaft and landing in a pool with mermaids all around you. You know, that was what the Kentucky Derby is decadent and depraved was. Let's face it, you know. But here's the deal. Did you hear this? That he recommended the Indianapolis Colts should draft Ryan Leaf and not Peyton Manning. By the way, Hunter S. Thompson, at the end of his life, wrote a lot for ESPN. You know, Rolling Stone was famous. You know, I do kind of enjoy his take on boxers are briefs to Bill Clinton. What the hell? You know, I'm not doing the Hunter S. Thompson voice there, but nevertheless, you know, I think that's what a lot of people thought back then, you know, when asked those things. However, I would point this out, that if he is in enough of a relationship with Jim Irsay, and I don't know if there's anybody in all of sports that I respect less than Jim Irsay. I mean, possibly, you know, Joe Paterno for looking the other way. Of course, he's passed away. Let's say a living figure. I think that I would probably respect Bob Irsay less than Jim Irsay. But in terms of a living figure, I don't know of anyone else that I say, you know, that guy is pure scum. And I'm going to list a lot of people. Who else you getting in bed with there? Hunter Walter O'Malley? Bob Short? Are you familiar with Bob Short? Bob Short didn't move one team, he moved 2. He moved the Minneapolis Lakers and the Washington Senators. And I know a lot of people, you know, they look at this and they don't do what I do, which is I wax poetic for the fans who were scorned. And they say, oh, you know, well, it was good to move the Lakers to Los Angeles. It's an absolutely ridiculous name. Los Angeles Lakers. I mean, when I tell you that they were the Minneapolis Lakers, you're like, oh, yeah, that man. But I mean, the whole thing, that's the only good thing. Semi-Pro was a horrible movie. The one good thing it actually mentioned, and it really got right, were these relocated teams. I, of course, don't think teams should relocate, but these relocated teams, and they keep the team nickname that they had before, and sometimes it's universal. I mean, Colts, yeah, it deals with the Preakness stakes, okay? So, yeah, that makes sense, but it's also a universal name. You know, you could put Colts wherever, you know, that sort of thing. It's no big, you know, Colts fits wherever you want to put it. Lakers, really? I mean, what's next? The Minneapolis movie stars? I mean, come on. You know, please. The Utah Jazz. They shouldn't have renamed the Hornets the Pelicans. They should have renamed it the Mormons. I mean, why not? You know, to be honest with you, I went through this and what's in a name. Los Angeles is really bad on this. What is a Dodger? What is a Dodger? Bo and Luke Duke driving a General Lee? I mean, what's a Dodger, really? It's a derivative of Trolley Dodgers, which was said to be Brooklyn residents once upon a time. So you're the Los Angeles Brooklyn residents. That's really transplanting, really, that Ford Fairlane type of thing and all. I really need to make more contemporary references. Are there more I mean, it fits. It's just 28 years old. Is there a more contemporary reference that I can make about someone moving from New York, from Brooklyn to Los Angeles? You know, Ford Fairlane works, but is there another one I can make within the last 28 years? That's what I need to know. I just, you know, anyhow. But yeah. Getting into this. But, I mean, who else was N.R.S. Thompson gonna get in bed with? Walter O'Malley, Bob Short, Art Modell, Stan Kroenke. What about George Shinn? Since that was good enough for Paul Stanton and David Mullins, why not George Shinn? I think, you know, that would have been interesting. You know, chasing after the younger women, certainly. Other than that, I don't know if Shinn and Thompson would have gotten along. But let me just, if you're not familiar with the Irsays, let me just tell you, I mean, they're the people that moved the Colts from Baltimore to Indianapolis. Okay, you know. But they did it, you know, in the scummiest of ways. And I know that people say, well, they were going to take the team away from them through eminent domain. If ever owners deserved that, it was the Irsays. I would have loved to have seen it occur. City of Baltimore would probably have sold the team then to a, you know, owner through who would have committed it there, but that could have stopped franchise relocation if that was successful. That's why the Colts moved out of town when they did. It's because, you know, the Irsays were trying desperately to keep their franchise. They had mismanaged it to that point. It was 0-8-1 the year before. Anyway, in addition to moving in the scummiest way, you know, they didn't even have the audacity. You know, the employees of the Colts showed up the next morning, March 30th, 1984, the secretaries, and, oh, you don't have a job. Yeah, this team's moved to Indianapolis. All your stuff is gone. We took it. Bad enough you leave, but you do it that way, you know, and all this. And saying, oh, yes, those baby pictures of your, you know, maybe they're around here somewhere. I don't know, you know. But, you know, the Colts also really, they had a winning season here or there, but they really continued to lose until Peyton Manning got there. And then Jim Irsay had the audacity to criticize Peyton Manning. Well, you know, he only won the one Super Bowl. They once did an ad. Do you ever remember? I forget what it was for, but Alex Rodriguez was talking about how New York could be tough. And the press asked, only one home run today, Alex Rodriguez? You know, only one Super Bowl here, Peyton Manning? You know. I want to show you, by the way, what Peyton Manning meant to the Colts, okay? I'm not counting 2011 when he had the neck injury, didn't play. You know, that was basically, you know, the next year he left. But during the Manning era, Colts won 64% of their games. That includes, by the way, his 3-13 rookie season. We're even including that. You take that away, and, you know, really good, but 64% of the games. Now, under Irsay ownership, the Colts franchise, both Baltimore and Indianapolis, without Manning, have won 43% of their games. That's quite the difference. And they had Andrew Luck, Eric Dickerson, Burt Jones from back in the day, those guys, all those guys, 43%, including those seasons. Now, by the way, before the Irsays got the team, swap of franchises with Carroll Rosenblum, they actually bought the Rams real fast, traded it with Carroll Rosenblum. Okay, look it up if you want. But the Colts, prior to the Irsays getting them in 1973, they won 62% of their games. And that includes the days before Unitas in the 50s, when they were basically a relocated 1-11 Dallas Texans franchise trying to find their way, Let's take George Shaw, number 1 in the overall draft, and that sort of thing. Now, okay, so the Irsays, you say, well, they're losing owners, but does that make them bad people? I mean, Art Rooney was a losing owner with the Steelers for years and years. Didn't make him a bad person. Ralph Wilson, good person, never won the Super Bowl with Buffalo. Lost more than he won. I mean, is that... No, it doesn't say that the Irsays are bad because they lost, because they don't run a team right. They're bad people because Bob, disowned by his mother and dishonorably discharged from the military, again, look it up, drunkenly told reporters he wasn't going to move the goddamn franchise, speaking of the Baltimore Colts, before he did 2 months later. Jim is a drug addict and alcoholic. It's well known, and it's his son. The family's history is that players who were injured and rehabbing were often not allowed to train, rehab, at the Colts facility. Randy McMillan's from the old days, but look it up. The thing that really bothered me was Jim saying he would veto an ownership group of the St. Louis Rams designed to keep the franchise in St. Louis that Rush Limbaugh was going to be a part of. And then after, I'd never vote for that, as if Rush Limbaugh is, somehow of less character than the Irsays. Then we saw the Rams move from St. Louis. That's not fair. I've been told Stan Kroenke was going to get the franchise one way or the other overall, so I'm a little less, out. But you talk about boycott the NFL, that would have had me boycott the NFL back in the day, and I'm a Steelers season ticket holder. By the way, another thing I hate about the Irsays, whining whenever the Colts lose in the playoffs, be it about Deflategate, be it about pass interference. Remember that back in the day when Manning couldn't win the big one, that sort of thing, we got to get the pass interference rules changed. Now, Hunter S. Thompson, Jim Irsay probably bonded over pop culture. Irsay is a big fan of The Who. He's got a guitar owned by Elvis. He's got a drum kit that was owned by Ringo Starr. Thompson wrote for Rolling Stone. You do the math, But I think they might have also bonded over a lack of football knowledge. Yesterday, Ryan Leaf tweeted a letter evidently written by Thompson back in '98 when there was a big argument, believe it or not, whether Manning or Leaf would be the better quarterback in the NFL. Irsay asked Thompson for a $30 million loan to be able to sign Manning. And Thompson turned him down and says, no, read the letter. It's viral now. It was tweeted out by Ryan Leaf yesterday. And he says, no, I won't give you the money for Manning, but I will for Leaf. That's who you should be drafting. So let's play that what-if game. Why not? Let's play that what-if game. What if Jim Irsay listened to Hunter S. Thompson, of all people, and drafted Ryan Leaf? What if that had happened? I mean, there was a debate at the time. Franchise would certainly be looked upon as a laughingstock. Jim Mora would not be the coach of the team either. I mean, Mora was really selected by the Mannings to be the coach. They were working hand in hand, et cetera, et cetera. Would the Mannings have signed with San Diego? Eli turned them down. I'm of the belief they might have, due to the fact that I wonder how much of the Manning saying, no, we won't sign here was because of the way the Michael Vick situation went down. If you remember, Vick and the Chargers 3 years before couldn't agree to terms. And then, so they traded Vick's rights to the Atlanta Falcons. But I wonder, since that wouldn't have happened, if then Peyton, goes to San Diego, if Leaf is taken. Thing is, if Manning had left the year early, he would have been drafted by the Jets. He was, I know there was that little debate, maybe you ought to draft Leaf, but I'm not sure. I think there was always that element of, Manning's the guy to take. And I know that part of that is living in East Tennessee. They couldn't possibly take Ryan Leaf, that sort of thing. But anyway, I think it was always in the cards for Manning to be number one. But like I said, the Colts did crazy things throughout their existence. So what if they had listened to Hunter S. Thompson? Well, Leaf would have been a bust in Indy, just like he was in San Diego. That's, pretty much sure. So Indy then is in a position to draft Michael Vick, assuming the timeline stays the same, in 2001. And again, would the Colts have traded down their pick with the Falcons? Maybe they do, because, I can't imagine if the Chargers aren't signing Vick that the Colts, this losing franchise, having to ask for money from Hunter S. Thompson to sign a quarterback, that they would draft Vick. I don't think that would have happened either. So they probably trade those rights to Atlanta, same as San Diego did. So what would the Colts have done? By the way, if Manning's in San Diego, does the team ever move? Probably, because he would have retired by then and he still had the stadium issue. But could there have been, with Peyton Manning and a Super Bowl or so enough, yes, we should build the new ballpark here for the Chargers. Would there be that? I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if Drew Brees became an Indianapolis Colt in that situation. He was drafted in the second round by the Chargers in 2001 when they couldn't draft, or when they didn't draft Vick. Spent a year basically on the bench, pretty much. He started one game, but, Then became the starting quarterback after that. So what do you think? Drew Brees is a Colt. And he might have been the guy that turns the franchise around like Peyton Manning did. I could see it. Especially Drew Brees is, he went to Purdue. It makes a lot of sense. Okay, so let's play this what-if game. Now what about Tony Dungy? If Brees is drafted in 2001, say second round, and he becomes a starting quarterback, do they fire their coach? It wouldn't have been Jim Mora. Would they have fired him a long time ago? Or do you say, well, we have a coach. Let's, stick with what we have here because we've only given a guy 1 year. Does Tony Dungy make the Hall of Fame? Here's the question I want to know. Would Thompson, instead of committing suicide during an argument with his young wife in 2005, instead murder Jim Irsay in 2001 when the loan is defaulted upon? Thompson is then either executed or gets off scot-free when Colts fans, both in Indianapolis and the old ones in Baltimore, fund his defense team. I kind of like that scenario. I'm Marky Billson. Hey, new coaches for David Crockett. I'll tell you about that. Also, two great guests today. Jerry Bonkowski talking about NASCAR at 1 and at 1:45. Zach Clark, Johnson City Cardinals general manager, comes on telling us how the Cardinals are setting attendance records left and right. Back after this.